I've played MINDSEYE for about 4 hours, and well, it's been rough. I want to start the review and or first impressions more so about MINDSEYE with one very important note. This is not a GTA game. It was never advertised to be one, even though they did very much say, oh, this is the best thing to play before GTA 6. It's not. It really isn't. I'll explain why in a little bit. However, it's not a GTA game. If you're expecting a GTA game from MINDSEYE, you are not going to get it, and you were never going to get it either. But what I've played over about 4 hours, it was rough. We should start off with the performance. I personally played the game on PC. Started off with the epic settings, and then as time went on, I moved on to lower settings because there were some issues with performance, and those issues were along the lines of, hey, there's 30 FPS, and then there's 40 and 50. And it happened quite regularly. When the game got a little too busy, the game decided, how about a few less frames for you? Which got so annoying that I was like, let me try to play the game on low. I couldn't tell much of a difference between low and epic settings, so I was like, I'll just stick with this. But still, unfortunately, I did see those 30 FPS drops. Like when I say like a drop from like 80 to 50 FPS like out of nowhere. Generally speaking, again, when the game was getting a little bit more busy. It doesn't stop there, as the PS5 Pro version unfortunately seemingly is having similar issues, with the video game unfortunately not going above 30 FPS as there is no performance mode. It even goes below 30 FPS at times, and the game overall is seemingly looking rather rough on PS5 Pro. So you can only imagine what it's going to look like on the base version and Series S. So in terms of performance, that is probably already the first red flag, considering the fact that once you saw like Unreal Engine 5, you probably already knew where this was going. And you are correct. In terms of audio, everything just sounds rather bland. The guns, the cars, and well, everything. There's no real ambiance going on within the world either, right? You don't really hear any sort of ambient sounds or anything. Everything just seems to kind of like get drowned out by the background music, and I think it's kind of on purpose, as the gun sounds are just, yeah, they kind of like that bass and that oomph, you know, that you're looking for when you're in a gunfight. It just kind of just feels like, I mean, if anything, just like this. A little bit of an over-exaggeration, but yeah, that's kind of about the same about the bass as you can expect from the guns in MINDSEYE. When it comes to cars, I can't really be too harsh on it, as most, if not all of them, are all electric. So yeah, I can't really do too much critiquing on that one. PS5, again, the PS5 sound, according to Noah, is not great. So yeah, take that as you will. In terms of gameplay, the driving and shooting are serviceable. They feel fine. Again, the guns are really lacking that oomph, and the driving itself is actually rather solid, to be honest with you. It didn't annoy me. It was perfectly controllable. It didn't do anything or did try to be like too crazy. It's very serviceable. It's not gonna blow your socks off or anything like that, but it's fine. One of the more goofier things about the combat in MINDSEYE is every time that you kill an enemy, they do a backflip and ragdoll because they don't have any weight to them whatsoever. Like if you kill an enemy and you were to like literally walk over them, they will basically just stick to your feet and you drag them with you, because that's kind of what most of MINDSEYE is. Nothing really has weight to them, and unfortunately that does include the cars. Even though that they're very heavy electric vehicles, even the slightest bump will just send them flying, including yourself. So yeah, take that for what as you will. It is unfortunate, as like I said, the driving itself is perfectly fine. So yeah, I really wish there was like a lot more weight to a lot of things, right? Normally, like if you're fighting enemies or anything like that, you would expect that, you know, they would kind of like try to take cover or like really engage with you or anything like that, but they're just kind of just there, right? If you're in a gunfight, you can very much just stand in the middle of them and you just kind of shoot them a few times, and that's pretty much it. There's not really like any sort of like real danger. They're not interacting with each other or like shouting out anything. It's like, oh, he's behind cover, he's over there, or they try to flank you. They're just kind of like what you would expect in like a user-generated thing, or like even, I would say, a GTA Online Survival, but I don't really want to mention GTA too much, because even in GTA Online Survivals, they're like, I guess, more aggressive and more involved than they are within MINDSEYE. Sorry for bringing up GTA, I really don't want to do that, but I hope that would maybe make a bit more sense for some of you. I think if any of you have played like a relatively like a good third-person type of game where enemies are actually engaging with you and, you know, saying things and stuff like that, none of that is here. It's just enemies that are just only there so you have something to shoot. I hope that makes sense, because aside from that, there's really no reason for them to be there. They're just kind of there to have something else to do than driving from one cutscene to the other. Mission design is definitely not the greatest, as some of the missions, when it comes to chases and tailing missions, they really drag on. Like, they overstay their welcome a little bit. There's not a whole lot of them, and the mission variety is decent enough. Generally, the combat section, they don't overstay their welcome, and they also don't feel like they're too short. They're okay, like, they're fine. You know, if you know, like I said, it doesn't help that the guns are not really having that oomph going on, but aside from that, it's fine. One thing, though, that I found myself getting increasingly annoyed with as I am playing through the game is the lack of ammunition. I know this sounds really weird in a game that is predominantly like, you know, you have a gun, go shoot some things, but the weapon wheel seems to constantly reset to the very first weapon within your weapon wheel, which is really annoying, as the first SMG is rather powerful in terms of recoil, and I didn't enjoy using it and I want to use the other one. However, you constantly keep running out of ammo, and you seem to be stuck with the default pistol that has unlimited ammo quite often. Mind you, running over enemies is the predominant and only way of getting ammo within the game, alongside of new weapons. And if you don't actively do that, you end up in a situation like I do. And if you do run over enemies, there isn't really a whole lot of ammo, at least from my experience. Especially in the section that I ended up now, where I'm not actually fighting enemies, but I'm like fighting more of the robot type of enemies instead. Having to take those out with a pistol and a shotgun isn't very fun. It is dragging on quite a bit, and every time I find a little bit of ammo, I run out again. And yeah, that was towards the tail end of what is like 4+ hours of playing the game, so it was really starting to annoy me. In terms of story, it's not gonna exactly blow your socks off, but it's definitely the best part of MINDSEYE. I'm interested enough, but I'm not sitting here and say that it's the best thing I've ever played. It's decent enough, but I wouldn't really go and say, oh, for the story, I recommend the game. I would still very much be like, yeah, the rest of the game like doesn't really, you know, justify. The characters are fine, like the story itself seems fine, but I don't think it's really anything that you haven't really seen before. And if you wanted to like get something that has like a decent story, I think at that point you might as well just be better off just going watching a movie on Netflix. That's pretty much, I guess, the gist of it. Like, the story so far that I've played just kind of seems to like, you know, surround around the mystery about what's happening with Jacob and why he has the thing in his neck and who's behind it, etc. Which, you know, it's interesting enough. You know, I'm interested enough, I guess, to like finish the rest of the game, and I mostly just want to finish the rest of the game because I feel like I really want to give like the full attention, I suppose, that before I really give my final verdict on the game. But I think, like I've said, I think I've played the game for about 4 hours, and I have a rather solid impression of what the rest of the game is going to be like too. As for like the final overall thoughts, yeah, the game overall just lacks a lot of character and soul, and often just feels like very tech demo-y. You can kind of see that everywhere is kind of the main focus here, as is something that they really want the people to like start using. And the noble task of Build a Rocket Boy, who developed MINDSEYE, to get more people involved in making games and stuff, is very cool. But unfortunately, MINDSEYE itself isn't really a game to me that is something that I really want to go out of my way to recommend and tell everyone, oh, you should go and dash out $60 for this. As there's plenty of other games who have done something similar, if not way better, and that are also currently on sale on Steam and all that sort of stuff, which even has multiple games. So yeah, it's just really missing that oomph, that, oh, I really want to like keep on playing and I'm really invested into it and stuff like that. It's kind of all like the ideas are there. I can see what they were trying to kind of do, and there's a lot of things there where you can see there's some cool ideas and there's some cool stuff going on, but a lot of it is just like it's missing it's missing that little bit of polish and a little bit of like finer detail, if you will, where, oh, if it would have like spent a bit more time within the oven, performance-wise, like in terms of the vibe of the game and just making it feel a bit more alive and like giving it a bit more of a soul and stuff, it would have gone a long way. But I think, unfortunately, it seems to be one of those cases where they really just had to bring out the game or else the money was going to run out, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, those are my thoughts about MINDSEYE so far. I might end up doing like a full-fledged review about it when I've actually like checked out everything, finished the story, like the side content and stuff like that, which I've played a little bit of. And when I played one of the races, there's no AI there, so you're just kind of doing a time trial by yourself. And there was also like another mission, which is kind of one of my main points of where I did combat for the first time. Yeah, it felt very much like the rest of the main game, I suppose, in terms of combat, which was something I found out later, which was a little disappointing. I'm interested to see how MINDSEYE is going to shape up in the next few months or so, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in it, given the fact that Steam currently had a peak of 3.5 thousand people playing the game, which is not very good for a game that launched and is this relatively high profile, I suppose. But yeah, for now, that is kind of it. If you want to see more about the game and see me play it, then follow me on Twitch. I'll be doing more streams of the game in the days ahead, and, you know, kind of see if I can shape up to be like a full-fledged review of the game. Keep an eye on the second channel. I might throw some more thoughts and stuff like that on there when applicable, or just see some cool content there too. Anyways, enough. Thank you for watching. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.